Can't talk today. Relaxed topic. Pop music. Pop music is derived from rock and roll. And it wasn't used for quite some time, though, the word pop. You just had music. All right. Pop is what we say eclectic, which is just a fancy way of saying that it borrows from different. They don't, so because that would be really bad. But they borrow, certain styles from composers. Okay? So, you know, we so pop music has a lot of different definitions. Some think that pop music is just the popular music you hear on the radio. Some think it's popular music, popular jazz and folk songs. And whatever the case is, pop can't be defined as one style of music. On the other hand, what most people can agree is that pop songs are simple. They're usually about 2 to 3 minutes. Sometimes it can be about four. Pop music is usually, something you can dance to most of the time. And pop music repeats itself over and over and over again. I think catchy lately. Lyrics are usually very emotional, or most of them have to do with love or breakups or dancing or um, something to do with relationships. So usually, songs are broken up like this: verse, which is kind of like, uh, kind of okay. Here's one of the main uh, the verse is one of the main ideas. The chorus is like the big idea. That's like the biggest idea. And then the verse is kind of like the setup. The chorus is the main idea. The bridge is kind of like, I like to think of a bridge as like uh an I hate to say this, but it's like an afterthought. It's kind of like an extra, okay? It kind of it's a bridge. Kind of connects things together. Um and then the chorus, right? Um Usually that's how it works. Rhythms are usually syncopated, okay? Remember we talked about syncopation a little bit. Rhythms, when they're syncopated, they're usually off the beat, right? Rhythms that are syncopated are da 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 da. Syncopated, syncopated, syncopated. Da 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 da. They're off the beat, right? Remember we played Four White Horses on a river. Hi, hi, hi. Up tomorrow is a rainy day. Four white horses should a shadow play. Shadow play is a ripe banana. Remember that game? That was all about syncopation. Okay? In pop music, the song is usually sung from the point of the singer or about the singer. Um, when we take a look at the history of pop music, remember pop is classified as the types of music weren't classified as pop music, but based on when they were, um, sorry, they were classified as pop music based on when they existed. So in 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. All right, with that said, we're going to start with the 1960s. The 60s. Well, this was a time of peace, romance, and war. Okay? So, right about this time, we had the Vietnam War going on. So, a lot of the music that was coming out spoke out against the war. And the genre of music that kind of came out of this was soul music. So, soul, it's a combination of gospel, rhythms and blues, jazz. They have catchy rhythms, hand claps, and body movements. They also have what we call and response, like dun da 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 da, right? The call is the shave and a haircut. Response is 2 bits, okay? Soul music tends to repeat itself. Again, over and over again. Soul music makes use of horns and saxophones. Here are some soul artists you might have heard of: Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles, Aretha Franklin, of course, Michael Jackson. Can't forget about him, the Prince of Pop. The Supremes, John Legend, of course, he's one of my favorites, and Adele. All right, the first example of soul music we're going to go to is Dionne Warwick on Walk On By. Dionne Warwick.
If you see me walking down the street and I start to cry each time we meet, walk on by, walk on by. Make believe you don't see the tears, just let me breathe in private, 'cause each time I see you, I break down and cry. You walk on by, stop. You walk on by, stop. You walk on by. I just can't get over losing you, and so if I see.
Okay, so right there and then you can kind of tell, right there and then you can tell it's about romance. Of course, right, she's talking about breaking up. There's a little bit, you can tell why it's called soul. It's she's talking about what she's feeling, right? We call it soul music for that reason. It's got a little bit of call and response. Walk on by, walk is the call and the response. There's some catchy rhythms there. She's got some body movement going on. She's swaying a little bit back and forth, right? There's a little bit of horns and saxophones if you listen very carefully in that one. These, again, we're still there. Sorry, we're at the 1960s. The British invasion. The 1950s and early 60s, bands in England were starting to remake old blues songs. Not such a bad thing. One group from England, though, the Beatles, were becoming incredibly popular, and they were known for they came from Liverpool, and they were creating new styles of music. And did you happen to know that their first recording, I Want to Hold Your Hand, sold 1 million copies in a week then? And the Beatles, they were really popular here in the United States, as well as at home. So here's the Everly Brothers: Peter, Paul, and Mary, the Beatles, the Impressions, Bee Gees, Santana, Monkees, Frank Sinatra, Neil Diamond, Chuck Berry. These are just some of the other artists that were part of the 1960s. I'm going to wrap up today with the 1970s, the funk and disco. After the music of the 1930s and 40s started to disappear, a lot of the music that was left there wasn't a lot that was written just for dancing. So funk was born. And that was a combination of rock and roll and soul. And the thing to remember with funk, harmonies were pretty simple. And there were a lot of really cool rhythms that were being used. And the bass was really noticeable. And then we had disco. Now, disco is when we start getting those cool disco balls you'll sometimes see at the dance clubs and at the the bowling alleys. If you go to a bowling alley, you'll see them there. You'll see them at weddings, birthday parties. Discos contain smoother melodies, much smoother, and much smoother rhythms. And disco's usually easier to dance to. Disco was never performed live with a band, but it was performed through what we call disc jockeys, DJs. I'm sure you've seen a DJ. I would hope you've seen a DJ before. Dance halls, there were tons of them back then. There still are some, but there were, hundreds of dance halls back then that played disco and would make use of strobe lights, disco balls, and that made dance experience more entertaining. So, here's some of the funk artists, James Brown's, Prince, Kool and the Gang, and here's some of the disco. Ha! Now look at that. Michael Jackson is both a funk and a disco artist. So, to end our time together, you'll probably know this guy right here, Stevie Wonder.
Joining us on stage, Mr. Jeff Beck. Looking back, though, baby. Rock my goodbye. 7 years of bad love. Get the things in your side. When you believe in things that you don't understand, then you suffer.
All right, so those are the decades we are going to talk about for this week. Those to see you all soon. Okay, take care. Bye.